Hello everyone, in this video we will be unjargoning the term message queue. Okay, so message queue you have heard in this scaling problems in the distributed systems or any system design. These keywords are heard apart from the message queue in the same sentences sometimes and some the same environment and situation. So it is just related to the scaling and distributed system thing, but we need to unjargon thing. We need to demystify thing it. So for that we need to first understand what it is and why it exists. Okay, so message queue is a program, okay, which takes something in and out something out, and essentially it is a program, it is a function, it's the method. Okay, it solve a specific problem, and it's not a easy problem to solve, but yeah, it's a simple thing to have. But let's understand the problem first. Okay, so whenever system scales, sometimes in the websites or some in the apps, the traffic goes very high in certain period of time, certain day, certain sales comes in the e-commerce website. Then what happens if a request which is compute heavy, most of the case, if a request is an unknown time to resolve it, okay, it takes times like a few minutes or hours or not some kind of processing or anything like that. So we don't want that server to first process one request, then another request, then another request, then another request. It blocks the server to accept more requests, because this compute heavy task will busy the main server and not making new requests to income. So this is the problem. Okay, so, and of course, since we are assuming it is a monolithic, is a one server, then it is all making all other things also blocking. Okay, and if it is distributed, then it is essentially main thing is blocking the new requests. So message queue is a concept, is a terms which solve this problem. Okay, so when developers or engineers got this problem, they need some kind of solution which hold these kind of request in somewhere, and then server can solve this request at their own pace. What it means that they they make a program which saves the incoming request data in a queue format. Okay, queue is essentially in the memory. There is a place where it is a data structure where you can input some data, and it will uh, comes out in a FIFO terms, the first in the first out, whatever the request or whatever the task which request initiated comes first in the queue, and then it will come first as well. So it will maintain the order which we needed, like if someone has order first, then his order need to be served first, it need to be placed first, and vice versa, like for other tasks. So message queue, what it does, it's open one end to the request opening server, and at an other end with wherever things go out to another dedicated server, and which can at its own pace get the things from the queue and process it, like once a day, one a day, or one in a 1 hour, whatever the time period suits that server, suits to that server, it will take care at that pace. Okay, so essentially how it solved the problem, it solved the problem by that this web server got the spikes of request, and then it will take all the requests and just push in the queue and receive and return that to the back to the serving other new request. And yeah, through response to that request, it's just responding that yeah, your work is in progress, not it is completed yet, because it is not, but it is in progress. And once that queue happens, and that, through the queue it goes to the new server, which is the processing server, and it processes that request, whatever the task it was there, it then notify the client that yeah, you can check your task is completed. So whenever any compute heavy task or any task which has some times to other than like handling the traffic or response request, something to do, it could be database, it could be video processing, it could be image processing, it could be anything like that, then it has to go through the message queue, especially on the peak hours. Okay, and message queue is responsible to store those requests or those data, those tasks in the disk or when in the memory. And the new server, which we can call a consumer, the new terms is a consumer, which consumes a request from the message queue or whatever the task in the message queue and fulfill this, process this, and then respond or change the status in somewhere in the database. That once then whenever the client refreshes the request page, wherever we can show the status of the request, it can see like yeah, how it is going. So instead of bombarding handling of those bulk requests at a specific peak time for a single the connection of the server, we are distributing this thing into at least three things. Like first, the server which handle the request and getting the response back and just yeah, your request is processing. The second thing is that those requests which is need to be processed inserted into the queue, and the queue then stores those, and the consumer, the other server, will pick up the task from the queue and then process at his own space. And this is how the things get the process eventually, not in the real time, but yeah, eventually. And that is the trade-off. Like if we are blocking thing, then it will be then and there on the priority solving the task, but blocking the other request. But using this message queue and this other consumer service, it can be done at any pace, fast or slow, and it is meant to be done that way because it will not get affected any other thing. So it is like a trade-off, but we solve the problem. Apart from that, it also, if you think as a scaling point of view, it decouples the systems. Okay, so if some request is some function of the controller in the first server, just handle the request, then this message queue is responsible for the rest of the task to be pipelined to the other servers like consumers and then everything. So yeah, this is an examples you can search online, but I was just telling you what is the message queue here and what is the purpose and why we are using it essentially. So that's it in this video. We will be covering other thing. And what you need to do is this: if you have any doubt or any terms which I have spoken, you can comment down below, and I will try to answer it in another video and then in there in the comment. So that terms, so that we can be in the same mind connection, that yeah, you don't this is a unjargoning video and I don't want any jargon words to be thrown out your mind and you are not understanding it.